So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to another edition of the Pure Digital Passion Podcast with me, Moses Kemibaro. For anyone who's ever traveled internationally, there's a familiar ritual. You land, you hunt for a Wi Fi signal, then you begin the often frustrating search for a local SIM card. Or you take the risk and leave home your home SIM on and you return to a shocking phone bill. This bill shock is a universal pain point. In fact, we've seen stories of people racking up bills of over 2 million shillings or even an unbelievable $143,000 just from data roaming charges. But what if that entire process could be eliminated? What if connectivity was as simple as scanning a code before you even leave home? And this is the promise of eSIM technology, a digital revolution that is fundamentally changing how we connect across the globe. To unpack this revolution, we have two pioneers at the forefront of this shift in Kenya and Africa. First, we have Mandeep Birdi, who's the CEO and founder of RoamBuddy. Mandeep is a true telecom veteran with over 20 years' experience spanning the US, UK, Africa, and the Caribbean, having held senior roles at companies and organizations like Airtel Africa and Digital Cell, and is also channeling that global expertise into a groundbreaking eSIM marketplace. We are also delighted to welcome Peter Lubia, the founder and CEO of Flexicom Enterprises. Peter brings a wealth of strategic experience from the financial sector with a distinguished 28-year career in banking, including roles like Head of Strategic Transformation at Standard Chartered, and is now applying that sharp strategic mind to the telecom space as a licensed mobile virtual network operator here in Kenya. Mandeep and Peter, a very warm welcome to you all for joining us on the Pure Digital Passion podcast.
Thank you.
So-
Thank you very much. Sis.
So, Mandeep,
Really
I'd like to start with you, and maybe let's just start with the basics, because I think most people, of course, understand what the physical SIM card is. It's been around for at least 3 decades. And for our audience, what exactly is an eSIM, and how does it fundamentally differ from that little piece of plastic that we're all used to putting into our phones?
An eSIM is 100% digital, so it has the same technology like a physical SIM, but it's completely digital. And a customer can simply install it by scanning a QR code. Although these days they can even just click on a link. But primarily it's a QR code that's been generated, and it then embeds it into the motherboard. So Google was the first company that developed an eSIM phone, but then the Apple came. That's when this created this idea in my mind when I bought an Apple XS, which was the first model of eSIM, and I could install more than one. You can install quite a lot, 10 to 15 eSIM digitally into a phone. Although eSIM phones can only use 2 lines, and some phones have a physical slot, and if they're eSIM, then you can use a physical and the eSIM. So yeah. And it's so environmentally friendly. eSIMs, there's no carbon emissions, based on these eSIMs. It's 100% digital.
And I think if you just, I think it was earlier this week, if I'm not wrong, the new iPhones were launched. And one of the big stories there was you had the new iPhone 17 Air, iPhone 17 Air, which actually is eSIM-less. And I think the majority of the devices they're launching globally from now on will all be eSIM. Do you have a point of view around that? Because for me, whenever Apple launches something that goes mainstream or they start a trend, you'll notice that in the next 2 to 3 years, this becomes a standard for the whole industry. What are your thoughts around that particular development that just happened a few days ago?
I was very impressed. Although when my wife bought an iPhone 14 in the US, it was 100% eSIM. So they actually started at 100% eSIM capability in the US, but now the iPhone Air 17 is 100% eSIM globally. Given that we're based in Africa, we do get merchants who bring phones, iPhones and other phones from abroad, primarily from China. And Peter will mention this, but a lot of clients, I believe even your phone is non-eSIM. A lot of clients do get phones that are dual physical, and now that Apple has launched the iPhone Air 17. 100% eSIM globally, that's going to create the awareness, which has been the issues that we've experienced over the last few years, is every time I've asked customers, "Do you have an eSIM phone?" They 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 didn't know how to. They didn't know the answer to that, and they didn't know how to check. So I would always ask them to do a very simple check by dialing star hash 06 hash, and if they see an EID with a 32-digit number, then their phone is eSIM compatible. And that's actually also what we do as part of the customer journey, and what we had to build as part of the customer journey for the uh, websites that I build that connect to my eSIM marketplace. I hope that covers that.
No, fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. So, Peter, I'd like to come to you. And I think we really want to make this practical. We want to move away from, for many of us, what sounds almost like rocket science, a phone without a SIM. And I want to make this practical. So, let's say you're in Nairobi, you have an iPhone 16 or maybe one of these new Samsung devices. You're flying out to Dubai next week. Can you walk me through the process? How do I get a Flexicom eSIM? And how does the experience of activating it compare to the old way of queuing up at a kiosk or a shop somewhere and then buying this SIM that you then put in your device?
Thank you, Moses. I'm happy that you've mentioned you're traveling to Dubai next week. Yeah, because then that is what we usually encourage our clients, because you don't want to do it at the last minute, starting installing the eSIM and you're at the airport. So it's really good to do it at a week before. So the process is pretty straightforward. You go to our website, esim.flexicom.co.ke. You will search for United Arab Emirates, not Dubai. You search for United Arab Emirates. You choose your required data size and number of days that you will be there, and it should be data that you know. And then you enter your basic details. Once you've entered your basic details, you make the payment. After you make the payment, you go straight to your email. You'll find the QR code. You install it in your phone, and you go. You travel. You're ready to go. So the convenience card at the airport is that you can do this at the comfort of your office or at your house. So you don't have to think of, oh, I'm traveling to Dubai. Once I travel to Dubai, I need to queue up to get a SIM card, it takes a lot of time. You've arrived. You want to get your Uber. You want to connect, and you go, and you want to call your family, tell them you've arrived safe, and you're ready to go to the hotel. So it's that simple. That simple 6 steps that you need to take, and you're connected.
So there's something I also want to expound on. Maybe that wasn't very clear in our introduction, but what is the relationship between Roam Buddy and Flexicom? Because you're an MVNO registered here in Kenya. Roam Buddy is an international provider of these services. How do you both converge in providing this at a local level here in Kenya?
That's a very good question, Moses, and thank you for asking that. Given that I'm based in Kenya, and the Roam Buddy is a UK incorporated company with plans to sell data roaming plans globally. I was finding, as I mentioned before, I was finding a lot of challenges with customers not having eSIM compatible phones, and that's when I managed to look up and find Peter, and we managed to connect based on the fact that he has a certified license from the Communications Authority of Kenya, where he can sell. So we decided to partner because we want to provide this service to everyone, not only customers with eSIM compatible phones. We want to save everyone big on roaming. And I've met so many people, even when I worked for the mobile operators, many clients used to complain about the roaming costs. And when I was in Dubai a few months ago, I got an SMS from my current operator, which was charging me 14 shillings per megabyte. And if you try services, the sites like Flexcom or like KK Safari Data, which has gone live, you will see that the pricing for Dubai and the plans globally are way cheaper than incumbent operators. So yeah, and because Peter's license allows him to sell physical data roaming SIMs, we are now able to do that. So if a customer through the journey of any of the sites sees that their phone is not eSIM compatible, that doesn't mean that they can walk away. We are able to supply them with physical SIMs, and we already have these available today. And Peter will mention this, but we're very innovative, and we're actually working on a magic SIM, a magic PSIM. We call it a magical physical SIM. Will allow a customer to insert that physically into their non-eSIM compatible phone, but they will, so long as it's an Android phone, they will be able to embed eSIMs into that physical SIM, up to 12. So this is something we're already work in progress and doing stuff on.
Fantastic. So it continues to extend, it continues to expose more capabilities as well that take advantage of the eSIM technology.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Maybe Peter, I can come back to you, and I'm thinking about beyond the convenience of travel, what are the other key benefits driving this shift? We often hear about enhanced security against things like SIM swapping, the ability to have multiple numbers on one device, which I believe, Mandeep, you've just talked about, but also environmental benefits. But what are the significant advantages that we can see with the eSIMs? And I think maybe I'll direct the question first to you, Peter, and then Mandeep, you can add anything else that you think is relevant.
Yeah, thanks, Moses. Yeah, so just beyond the convenience of travel, one of the things that the eSIM comes with, since you can activate or rather download multiple SIMs onto your phone, so you have the ability to have your home line on as you travel. So you have your data line specifically for data. So some people, maybe people who travel for business or work-related travel, they need to have their home lines on so they can receive an SMS. Because in most cases, people will normally switch off their lines and just look for either a local line or just a Wi-Fi. But if you have a phone that can accommodate multiple eSIMs, you can have your home line on to receive SMS, OTPs, while your roaming SIM is specifically for data. And again, we talked about it eliminates plastics. The plastic card is eliminated. The shipping cost for shipping in physical SIMs is also eliminated. So the cost is basically it's a cost reduction. It's more efficient, and also emissions. There are no more emissions from the shipping, which is actually good for the world, for the planet. So those are some of the things that I see that bring the convenience just beyond the travel for the eSIM. Mandeep, you can add.
Yeah. Mandeep, anything else?
Yeah. Yes. So from a convenience perspective, and aside from the easiness of installing an eSIM, whenever tourists used to go abroad, or even tourists who come into Kenya, if they want to get a local SIM, the KYC process is very long. With the eSIM and the fact that our service is a data roaming eSIM plan, a customer does not need to go through that process of queuing at shops, providing their IDs, etc. The journey is their name and email. They make the payment, and this is something that, by the way, which our clients do like in Africa, is that they can pay with mobile money, because in Africa there are over 900 million plus mobile money users. They prefer to pay with mobile money, and we support that. So from a KYC perspective, the customer can order and install an eSIM in a minute, and there's nothing else required. And as Peter said, a customer can leave their primary line for receiving calls and SMS, which most customers receive OTPs, but they can switch their data to the data roaming eSIM, which will be a prepaid bundle, and they will never receive any shocks when they come back for data roaming bills. And they can reload, by the way. So, the customers do get notifications of usage, and customers who tend to buy smaller package plans like 1 GB or 2 GB can end up reloading. They don't need to buy a new SIM. They can reload the current SIM after after they've bought the first one and their account is registered on the sites. So
That's fantastic. I think the fact that you've sort of embedded the mobile money into the payment structure, I think is fantastic, because that means that we eliminate the fact that many would be excluded on the continent who are travelers who need this sort of capability in there. But Mandeep, I'd like to come back to you again just to talk a little bit about the broader eSIM technology and global uptake. And I think, given the fact that this week we saw Apple launching eSIM only, the latest range of devices, they're literally going eSIM only. And the numbers, I think, are staggering. I did some research before we came to this conversation, and we're looking at this consumer eSIM market is projected to grow to about $1.2 billion from 2023 to over $6 billion US dollars by 2030. Also, by then, it's predicted that over 75% of all smartphone connections, nearly 7 billion devices, will all be via sort of eSIM. And Mandeep, from your global vantage point, and I can see you're probably going to start smiling here, that the potential ramp up that's coming in front of us is that these are, significant numbers, and basically saying that eSIMs are going to be the new normal when it comes to mobile devices. So what are the primary forces driving this adoption? And is it purely consumer demand? Device manufacturers like Apple are obviously moving in this direction. What's forcing this industry's hand? And I know you talked about environmental implications. Obviously, it's more affordable to deploy and more flexible. But what are some of the key drivers behind this trend that we're seeing globally?
That's a very good question, and based on the figures you mentioned, previous estimates, the eSIM market size was projected to reach 17.5 billion, although most recent reports are boosting the projection to reach over 31 billion by 2030, which has increased, by 82%. So overall, I believe that's happening because more and more phone manufacturers are switching, and creating eSIM phones. So over a year and a half ago, there were only 83 eSIM phones, and today there's over 266 eSIM phones. That number actually, I'm sure, is updated. It needs to be more than 266 now that Apple has just launched. So that's creating a lot of awareness, and through the experiences that we've gone through, Peter and I, when someone has used an eSIM once or twice, they're so familiar with the how to install and use it that it becomes super easy. And in some cases, especially the ones where we have the physical data roaming SIMs, the customer does not need to walk away and throw the SIM after using it once.
Yeah.
They can use it constantly. So we're constantly innovating the technology where we want our clients to install one eSIM and use it as much as possible. Although, because of the fact that we're unable to provide an eSIM that's covering every country globally, today our eSIMs support 132 countries. But because we support over 190 countries, some countries that customers travel to, they need to install an eSIM for that. They can use it in that country. And after that, if they don't plan to go to that country, they can delete it. Now, there's no cost to that. It's just constantly saving them. But we want to make the experience more and more simpler by trying to increase the number of countries, with a single-use eSIM. So, yeah, I'll pause that.
That's fantastic. So, I mean, what you're saying here basically is that once you get this eSIM, it gives you this flexibility to use it across multiple markets, and then it's something you can have for the long term. You don't have to keep getting a new one as such.
Correct. And the number of operators who, many years ago, it was Safaricom in Kenya that started with this, eSIM, but then we, Airtel. So operators globally are increasing. So they're actually creating the awareness more and more. And based on research, today Around 75% of travelers now tend to use secure eSIM for travel services. So yes, some people don't change their phones for a very long time, and even me, I have the original Access phone, and I still continue using it. And it was the first model by Apple that was eSIM. So we are seeing progressive growth in this business, and travel has increased, and the data roaming business has also increased. And many years ago, one of the first companies that started this venture is now a unicorn. So there's one
Oh,
company globally that is a unicorn in the eSIM data roaming space. But my focus at the moment is Africa, Middle East, but I'm expanding more and more, and now I even have partners in the LATAM region who loved my service, and they've asked me to create sites for them. So I'm focusing to do this globally, and working in Africa. We need to innovate and be able to handle the customers who don't have eSIM phones. So eventually, we're even considering at some point to potentially get customers to switch their phones to eSIM. That's something that
fantastic.
Peter and I are considering in the future. And we might do that on a finance basis as well, because we want everyone to benefit. So, yeah.
Fantastic.
So,
Peter, I'd like to come back to you. And I really want to bring this back to Africa, bring it back to the Kenyan and also the African context. The data shows that Africa is not just following this trend, from what I could see, it's also helping lead it. And most of the new countries that began supporting eSIMs going back to 2023 were actually in Africa. So, why is the continent and East Africa in particular such a fertile ground for this technology right now?
That's a good question. First of all, Africa is mobile first, yeah, and what I mean by this is the primary device that Africans would use to access the internet or to make anything that is online is the mobile phone. So Africa is mobile fast and also very price sensitive, and that makes the eSIM very perfect for this market. Now, the East African people are coming back closer. East Africa, the people are crossing borders every day for tourism, for work, business. Every day, people are crossing the borders in Tanzania, Kenya, and Uganda. Yet roaming is still very, very expensive. Mobile money is highly utilized across East Africa, and obviously, again, the growing digital economies in East Africa. So there is a lot that is required for the East African people to be online throughout as they are doing business and traveling across borders. Also, East Africa has the ingredients. There are the corridors, the travel corridors. If you want to go to Rwanda, you want to go down to South Africa. If you're going to Uganda, the western and eastern parts of Africa, you've got to come through East Africa. It's a hub. Yeah, if you want to fly to USA, you come through Kenya. From Uganda to Kenya, and then you've got to fly. As well, over and above that, we also have very innovative regulators in East Africa. And then the consumers are tech savvy. They're very hungry. They're very hungry for connectivity. So that is why you find. Back to your question. That is why Africa and East Africa is actually a very fertile ground for connectivity and the eSIMs.
Great. Mandeep, I'd like to come back to you. Again, you talked about the global footprint that you're trying to build with Roam Buddy. And I'm wondering, from a competitive perspective and also the operational landscape in Kenya and East Africa, with these diverse sort of regulatory environments and infrastructure challenges, how does this compare to more mature markets like Europe or maybe North America?
well, with Rombody being in the UK and selling data roaming eSIMs, Rombody does not need licenses from any telcos globally. The reason, in Africa is the penetration of eSIMs compared to Europe and America. Penetration of eSIMs is lower, well over 50% plus in Europe, European and Americas have eSIM compatible phones. So there's no licensing required for that. Yes, some markets are now beginning to look at preventing customers from installing eSIMs in those regions, like in the UAE. UAE residents cannot buy eSIM data roaming SIMs locally. When they travel abroad and they land, they can do so, but within the UAE, they can't do so. Or residents within the UAE. And recently, Turkey has also done that. No one can now buy eSIMs within Turkey, but if you land in Turkey, if you install it before you land in Turkey, you're okay. So some countries are beginning to do that, but overall, in my view, this business and the potential of this business is so massive that I felt that the best companies to work with are B2B companies who are in the travel tourism space. So I'm talking and I'm working with several companies that are either travel agents. I'm talking to several airlines. I'm talking to loyalty companies. I'm talking to insurance companies. And I'm talking to companies who have developed apps where they have millions of customers. So I'm trying to plug my service into as many. And to give you, a good example, like globally and in the UK, there's a bank called Revolut. Revolut embedded eSIMs, and they also market it. In the LATAM, there's a bank called Nubank. They also embedded eSIM service into their neobank. So I'm trying to talk to neobanks not only in Africa, but I'm trying to reach out to companies that have apps that could easily plug in into the service. And plugging into the service is super simple. They would just put a button. That button would then go to a site, a mobile responsive site where a customer can basically go through the experience, or the company can simply plug into my API, but they do the development into their app. So I'm talking to several banking partners. In Kenya, there are several amazing neobanks like Loop, and so it's creating that awareness through their branding, which is why I've been working with Kenya Airways for a while, for quite a while, because in my view, Kenya Airways, people can buy tickets via their app, but people can also go onto their site, and them creating the awareness to a customer to save big makes sense. And the same for travel insurance companies who sell travel insurance. The fact that someone's buying travel insurance, that company knows that person is traveling, they can also create the awareness. So those are kind of things where being an innovator, I've developed the solution to cover as many countries and as many plans as possible. It's really to work with partners that are able to make every customer happy in their travel.
Thanks for that, Mandeep. Peter, I'm really keen to understand, kind of like how your business model operates, because of course, we know eSIMs are available locally. We know that the focus in this instance is on the roaming capabilities. But how does your organization, Flexicom, which is specialized and relatively agile, differentiate itself in terms of price, customer experience, or the breadth of your global coverage through the Roam Buddy partnership? How do you stand apart from others who might be offering similar propositions in the marketplace?
We actually work closely with the MNOs. Yeah, we work globally, not just in Kenya, but globally we do work with the MNOs. The only differentiator here is that we have global affordable data plans that the MNOs may not be able to provide globally in over 190 countries. They may be limited to a few countries here and there. However, we do have global plans. We also have regional plans, and we also have the country plans, which Mandeep has just mentioned. So this provides convenience. Great convenience, because you all you need to do is get your data plan before you travel. Yes, and you travel. By the time you travel and you arrive at your destination, you are already connected. So we're bringing the eSIM experience directly to your phone. Okay, not many people have been able to install an eSIM on their phone, but now we're bringing it to them directly to the comfort of their homes, to the comfort of to their offices. It's a do-it-yourself process. It may take a little, maybe 10 minutes maximum. However, by the time you're traveling, you will appreciate what you have gone through. As Mandeep has mentioned also, we also have a magical SIM card, and I want to offer you one to try in your next travel, which now can turn your, let me say, eSIM incompatible phone into an eSIM compatible phone, just by using the magical SIM card. So that supports phones that are not eSIM compatible, and that is the big differentiator for us.
Fantastic. So, Mandeep, I know you somewhat casually mentioned your Kenya Airways affiliation a short while ago. And I know this is one of the key reasons why we're having this conversation today. The fact that, first of all, congratulations, you've signed this new partnership with Kenya Airways. Kenya has launched something called KQ Safari Data. And I think this is a massive validation that the eSIM direction is going, significantly mainstream. And I want to share maybe the story about how this partnership came about, how you worked with the KQ Fahari Innovation Hub, which is the innovation studio or space that Kenya Airways runs, and what problem you were solving for the airline. Maybe you can build on that and tell us how this all came about, especially given the fact that this was the week when the media coverage came through around this particular strategic partnership.
Okay, so historically, a long time ago, I got an email from the Fahari Innovation. I received an email, and it was requesting, any entrepreneurs, innovators, to come and propose solutions that could be beneficial to Kenya Airways and its customers. And having been in the telco space for decades, and the fact that I've always been using an eSIM phone, since I got it, way back when I was in Jamaica, working for Digicel. When I came back to Kenya and I got that email, that's what made me think that, it being the main airline in Kenya, I felt that it was the perfect opportunity, having received feedback from customers in telcos that I worked for that roaming is the most expensive. That's so I'd already been working on the background, developing the back end marketplace. But then when the Kenya Airways email from Fahari Innovation came through, I felt it was the perfect timing to be able to pitch to them for me to create the front end website and fully custom branded. And we went through a lot of testing in the early stages, because I had not met with Peter, and I was receiving responses from Kenya Airways staff that they didn't have eSIM phones. I actually developed an eSIM MiFi device, which I was giving to pilots. So I would embed the eSIMs into the MiFi device, and they would load the plans. And the feedback that I had was amazing. But then during that point in time, then I came and met up with Peter, and so now we are also going to work towards providing clients with physical SIMs if they do not have eSIM. And so we've been doing a lot of testing with staff and going through the journey and making sure that everything was going to work perfectly. And so we've that's what led to then eventually going live. And yes, I've been patient and I'm very perseverant, and I'm very glad that Kenya Airways is my first airline client, and I'm looking forward to expanding more and more, because I want everyone globally who travels to be able to use the service. It's primarily where they go through. I'm the my focus is on the back end, but I want to work with as many companies in the space and have customers purchasing from them directly, meaning that it's a win-win-win for all of us.
Fantastic. Peter, Flexicom also offers enterprise solutions. So I imagine a company, a Kenyan company with a sales team that travel frequently across maybe Africa, Europe, the Middle East. How can they use a platform like this to centrally manage their team's connectivity, to control their costs, maybe to eliminate the nightmare of expense reports for random SIM cards? And I'll tell you that as an entrepreneur, that can be nightmare. I've seen how both in corporate environments and SME environments, just reconciling that sort of thing can be a bit difficult. So how is your company able to Flexicom able to sort of handle that proposition for the enterprise?
Thank you. That's one of the key things, or rather solutions, that we are driving with corporates here. We want to save them on roaming fees. We want to provide them with convenience. So you talk about Africa and Europe. So we have. I talked about regional plans earlier on. So we have global plans, which works globally, and we have regional plans that work in regions. So we've got an Africa plan, Africa regional plan, and we also have a Europe plan. So if your team is traveling in Africa, they can use one SIM card across up to even 37 countries. They don't have to keep changing SIM cards in every country that they go. If you're going to Europe and your team, you have another team that is going to Europe, we can give them another one SIM specifically for the European region. So they don't have to keep changing SIM cards here and there. So for the corporate team, the team that handles transport or travel, for them the cost is predictive. It's a predictive cost. If it is 1 GB in Africa, it is 1 GB. If it is 1 GB in Europe, it is 1 GB in Europe. If 1 GB in Europe is $5 for 10 staff, that is $5 times 10. If 1 GB in Africa is $8, it is $8 times 10. So that is very predictive, no fragmented costs. You will not have teams coming back, oh, this one has spent 10,000 because they left YouTube on or something. These things happen. Sometimes you leave apps working in the background and you come back and you find you have a bill of 2 million shillings. So you're wondering, what happened? I did not even use my phone, but it was running in the background. If, for instance, you're on WhatsApp and you have 1 GB, it is 1 GB. So for you as the corporate head in charge of travel, your cost is predicted. You're not going to get fragmented costs, people coming up back with different costs. So that's how it works across Europe and Africa, and that's how we're supporting the corporates with the
That's
enterprise solution.
fantastic. The more and more I'm listening to both of you, the more and more I'm seeing the use cases and the benefits, for those environments and situations where in a more conventional manner, there's so many risks and unintended expenses that can occur. But clearly, this solves a big problem. Which brings me back to you, Mandeep. I think I want to talk a little bit more about the KQ Safari data offering. I want to pull a little bit more on that thread. First of all, an incredible 2,250 plans that are there. I don't even know how you do that. 180 plus countries. And I think there must be a complex network of relationships to make this actually work globally. And I'm just wondering, how does Roam Buddy's platform manage this on the back end to ensure that a traveler gets a reliable, high-speed 4G or 5G connection, whether they're in New York, Singapore, or Johannesburg?
Well, that's a very good question, and this is something that's why it's taken a while, because I always want to ensure that I'm always delivering solid services. So I was doing tests before I plug in, any providers, and and test thoroughly. So that's what in the early days, I didn't. I only had around 500 plus plans, then eventually I ended up having 750. And the reason they've gone up to 2,250 is that because we've also allowed, aside from the standard package plans of 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 20, 50, we are also now able to do unlimited plans based on days. So, 1 day, 3 days, 7 days, 10, 15, so, and because of the number of countries, the fact that customers can get package plans or unlimited plans based on the duration, then there's choices. And I've constantly always tested before plugging in the right providers into the back end. And my back end marketplace, runs on AWS, and we always ensure that the customer always receive. Yes, it is true. Sometimes if a customer might be roaming, but the network that they're always attached to the local network. So like when a tourist comes and purchases a Kenya SIM, and it's Kenya attaches to Airtel. If they're going in certain parts of the country where there's low or zero coverage, that's not something that I can solve, because it's really the operator's coverage. But yeah, that doesn't mean that that they don't go live. So we always ensure that they're able to connect as much as possible, and reduce speeds from 3G, 4G, 5G, wherever possible. And yes, the regional plans, I've tried to increase and have as many countries as possible, because some of the customers that Peter and I communicate with, they want as many countries in Africa plans, because most of the staff travel in Africa. My Asia plans, I have plans that are 7 countries, 13 countries, 21 countries. Africa plans, we have 12, 20, 23, and 30, 37 countries. So it's really trying to provide the best service, but also the best coverage as much as possible. And that's what differentiates us from many operators all around the world. You being in Kenya with your current operator, can you get a Euro plan for roaming? I don't think so. With us, you can. And only yesterday, someone bought a plan, and he's going to 4 countries in Europe, and he was very happy that he was able to buy a Euro plan that covers all of those 4 countries, and he doesn't need to go through the experience in every country to buy a local SIM.
Fantastic. I mean, the conveniences just keep on piling up. Peter, I'd like to come back to you. And this question also will be directed to you, Mandeep. Really, it feels like this is about embedding connectivity directly into the travel journey. So rather than being an afterthought, from the very onset of your trip planning, how you're going to be communicating, how you're going to get it online, and really also strengthening loyalty for the partner brands that you work with. So I'm just curious in terms of what has the initial feedback been? Where do you see this going? And will we soon be booking a flight and having our data plan potentially automatically provisioned as part of the ticket? Is this something that we can see coming in the future, Peter?
Yeah, absolutely. And looking at the number of partners that we are talking to, who want to sign up with us, many of them are looking at this as part of their loyalty. Because right now, connectivity is now part of the travel journey. It's no longer an afterthought. When you want to travel, you know that you are going to arrive in your country, wherever you're going, your destination, and you will need to communicate. You will have to look either for a Wi-Fi or a local SIM or whatever it is. So this is where we come in. We're looking at a roadmap where towards where you get ticketed connectivity. Yes, ticketed connectivity means when you book your flight, I see a situation where you book your flight, and with your consent, you get a data roaming plan embedded as part of your ticket. So that is the roadmap that we're looking for, and with the number of corporates that we are talking to, this is the same direction that they're looking at, creating convenience and loyalty for their traveling clients, because many of them have customers who travel worldwide for business. They are supporting them in different ways, And when they reach there, for example, banks, they have a challenge with OTPs because there's no connectivity. And nowadays, banks are sending OTPs on email. So if you don't have a data connectivity, you will not get your OTP to access your banking facility. So it's become part of the travel journey and no longer an afterthought.
What
And
about
in the
you, Mandeep?
loyalty
What are you?
space, in the loyalty space, with banks, with airlines, etc., we are trying to convince those kind of companies, the corporates as well as the airlines, that as we're getting close to Christmas, a customer might be able to get a physical SIM, which, as you can see, it's a data roaming SIM. That's Peter's, and that could be given to loyalty companies or gifts to the banking clients or the airline clients to say, thank you, Moses, for working with us and being our client. We really appreciate it. We know you travel often. We want you to save big. And here's your Christmas gift from us. And giving something like this gives benefits to customers forever.
Wow.
So we are trying to convince as many companies, banks, etc. And in the loyalty space, everyone does issue cards. So
Fantastic.
physical cards, and being able to plug that roaming as well, or doing a check first before giving a physical SIM. By confirming someone has an eSIM and being able to maybe give them a special discount. So on the sites that I've been building, we have the ability to do coupon code. So a corporate can issue a coupon code to a customer and say, you get $5 off, or you get 50% off for the next plan you buy. Use this, Christmas 2025 code, for example.
That's a good strategy. I think just sort of looking at ways to distribute through some of these programs, fantastic, so that you don't even need to think about it. It's just there, and it becomes a value add for both the customer and the business. Peter, I'm thinking about just being very practical. We have an audience of across all the platforms here, possibly the region of 100,000 more. And I want to get really practical, like we like to say in Kenya, core ground. And if somebody's, watching this or listening to this conversation and they've been convinced they're going on a holiday, they're going on a business trip, what's the simplest, most direct way for them to get a Flexicom eSIM for their destination of choice?
It's the simplest way is go to esim.flexicom.co.ke, choose your data size and number of days for wherever you're going, check compatibility of your phone if it is compatible with eSIM, enter your basic details and pay, install the eSIM and turn data line onto the new eSIM and go and travel. And if you're not compatible, your phone is not compatible, as Mandeep has showed you, we now have physical SIM cards to cater for those who do not have compatible eSIM compatible phones. It's a straight, simple five steps, which will not take you more than 10 minutes.
So that's esim.flexicom.com.
.co.ke.
And then in addition to that, you can pay using mobile money or credit card. Is that correct?
Yes, you can use mobile money or credit card. And for that, just more to add on to that is we actually do have mobile money in 14 countries in Africa.
Uh-huh.
So if you get onto our platform and you are from, say, Ghana, you can get in and pay using mobile money from the provider in Ghana. Same with Uganda, same with Tanzania. So it's not only M-Pesa, so we're catering for that. So the picture we're looking at is the wider picture is Africa. That's where we're heading. Yeah.
And what about you, Mandeep? Because again, you have that B2B to C model where you work obviously with the likes of Flexicom and Peter. If someone's a business owner and they're watching or listening to this conversation, maybe even a tour operator, maybe a travel agency, maybe a fintech app like you mentioned, possibly Loop here in Kenya, with traveling users, and they're sort of intrigued by your white label model, what are the first steps they can look at to explore a partnership with Roam Buddy?
That's very simple. They can reach out, and based on requirements, for corporates, we can create a corporate platform where someone within the corporate team can procure the eSIMs for the staff for traveling. For travel agencies, I do attend many travel events, and I've been doing pitches wherever possible. So travel agencies, it will be good. Yeah, they can reach out, and we can create customized, branded sites, and um, it's a win-win where they will also benefit from all of that, and their customers will benefit, and I can create the whole service completely that just plugs in and connects to my marketplace, which is essentially the platform supplying the products. They can embed it. The same with neobanks. They can simply embed a link or have their developers use my API. Once they reach out and we go through everything, and based on their needs, then I can discuss with them. So yes, that's with Kenya Airways, I did the development, but in collaboration with them in terms of the journey and everything. And um, for travel agencies, we can plug into any of the payment providers that they use already. So they're the ones who would receive all the sales income, and if they want to connect to PesaPal, DPO, or Flutterwave, or Paystack, all of those we can do for them, and embed it into the site if we're creating it for them. So we're
Fantastic.
flexible and open to that, and we can make recommendations in terms of who they should be using as well, because I see in Africa everyone loves to use mobile money, the payments.
Brilliant. So what I'm hearing you say is that you have an end-to-end approach, meaning that from inception to deployment, payment processing, all those steps you can integrate on behalf of a partner.
Absolutely, yes. And this is a reason that Peter and I are working, together. We want to do this for as many companies all over Africa. And this is primarily the fact that we feel we're going to have lots of requirements. This is where we're in the sort of funding stage mode, where we're looking to hire more developers, because creating a site doesn't take an hour. It
Yeah.
it does take a few days, but
Yeah.
embedding into payment gateways does take time because we have to test everything. So typically, a project can take anywhere from five days to 14 days. Once everything has been confirmed and all the scope of works have been provided. So Peter and I have been working on that part because everyone we feel requires physical SIMs as well. And with Peter's license, that has to be in place, and Peter provides the approval for the relevant corporate or the travel agency to be a partner in selling physical SIMs as well as eSIM services.
Great. Peter, you sounded like you wanted to say something. I wasn't sure.
Not really. I was just actually confirming what Mandeep is saying. Yeah.
Yes.
The way it takes time to build a site. It's not 1 day. It's not 2 days. It takes time.
Okay.
Yeah, but we want to scale it. We want to reach out to as many corporates and travel agents as possible, and
Okay.
be able to provide them also with the physical SIM cards, which we know will be phased out very soon. But the time is now. The convenience is needed now. So at that point, where if we can provide that convenience to everybody, we might as well do it, and that is what we are doing.
And then
Fantastic.
Moses, this is something beneficial for you. Marketing is really important when the sites are developed to generate sales and create awareness. Marketing is extremely important. So all of those need to work with the right. You see, this is their responsibility. I'm the provider of the service, but I'm not the one doing the marketing. because they need to market, and the every site, all the data and all the sales are held by the enterprise. So that's why they need to do the marketing, because that customer is theirs forever. They're simply purchasing from us, nothing else. All the data is the customer data is theirs. So marketing is also very important, and those are we've been trying to um, show as many marketing strategies, but you're a leader in this space, and I think you working or getting those arrangements as well will be beneficial for everyone. I was talking to someone in abroad. He was telling me some merchants only spend 2,000 a month on marketing, but they're generating over 50,000 sales because of that, using social media spend.
Wow, awesome.
I don't know how much that is in Africa, but in Europe they're spending that. So yeah, I'm sure how much companies prefer to spend on a daily basis or a monthly. But in essence, if someone is making 10x return, they are never going to give up on that spend.
Absolutely. The ROI is clear.
Yeah.
So we're coming to the end of our conversation, and the next question really is for both of you. And really maybe starting with you, Peter, looking ahead 3 to 5 years from where we are today, what do you think the future of mobile connectivity looks like, especially in the context of eSIMs as we've discussed today? And do you think that the physical SIM card will become a museum artifact, right next to the floppy disk, which I believe both of you might remember from our early years in our careers as being the way that we used to store media and content on computers, So do you think that's going to go that way? What do you think is going to happen, Peter?
Yes, you're right. As you can see, you had the iPhone 17 is 100% eSIM already. So that's the first step. Right now, as we speak, 80%, let me say 70 to 80% of travelers do not have eSIMs. So that has been a challenge. Okay. But as time goes, in as you said, the next 4 to 5 years, that shift, it will change. It will change from 80% eSIM, 20% physical SIM. And you can see even Samsung A55, is it A55? Yeah, now are producing eSIMs already. I think Motorola have another lower version of a phone that is also now that now has eSIM capability. So as you can see, the eSIM capability was mainly focused on the high-end phones, right? But now the shift is happening, and the lower end, the more affordable phones are also now beginning to be produced with eSIM capabilities. So yes, it will become a fossil. It will be in the museum somehow one day, the physical SIM, and at the end of the day, it will be good for the environment as we go fully digital.
Fantastic. Mandeep, your thoughts, 3 to 5 years out, what are we seeing? What happens from here on?
Very good question. And from that point, based on the investment and based on the innovation, I think I briefly mentioned this to you at the very start. When someone procured an eSIM, they had to do a scan. But then Apple developed a service where now they don't need to do a scan. They can just click on a link and it installs it. And that's improved the experience, because if I'm buying it and I'm sitting at the airport and I don't have my laptop with me on my phone where I made an order, I receive the email on my phone and I just click on the link. So I'm trying to innovate, and in my view, making the journey extremely simple. I'm constantly trying to reduce the pricing, and I know that the coverage of eSIM, the growth of eSIM phones is happening a lot. Even me, I'm considering moving to an iPhone Air 17, 100% eSIM, even though I have a physical an eSIM. So the fact that I'm considering that means, eSIM is the future, and everyone being able to do. And also, I'm also getting requests like this. Even on yesterday, I was getting a request. where in some cases, I'm being told, Mandeep, we would love to also get a phone number and provide voice SMS. That's something that I really need to consider because from a regulation perspective, that's important. In some cases, it's not difficult. Like in the UK, um, I can work on getting or supplying a customer with a voice and with a number, an SMS, and data for roaming. So they can they that means if they're traveling and they want to call an Uber or Bolt taxi, they're able to do that. So many months ago, I was in India. I wasn't able to call a taxi because I didn't have an Indian number, and I didn't secure one, but I did have data. So I'm getting requests for those kind of things. So I'm thinking of that progressively based on the potential of growth and scaling the business and securing seed investments to because I also, just like Apple have the ability to install a link, I want to do the same for Android. So whenever someone makes an order, they don't need to scan the code. They can literally click and it installs on Android or iPhone.
Well,
Yeah.
thank
So
you so
I'm
much.
constantly innovating. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and I think there's so many possibilities, but clearly we don't have enough time to cover all of that today. But thank you
Indeed.
so much, Peter and Mandeep, for with all these insights you've shared. I feel like now I have a sense of what eSIMs really are and possibly how I can work with them. I think fundamentally it's about rewiring global connectivity, making it affordable, more environmentally friendly, more convenient, also more secure. And I think for
Correct.
our audience, there's this learning that we've had today around the partnership models that you have, how Roam Buddy is working with Flexicom with the local expertise and the licensing they have for the MVNO. We've talked about the KQ Safari data proposition or partnership with Roam Buddy, so that Kenya Airways really shows that this is something that is significant. And I think as one of the top carriers in Africa, I'm sure Roam Buddy is going to gain a lot of business from this approach. And I think to our audience, if you're a traveler, you can check out the new offering at kqsafaridata.com. So that's kqsafaridata.com to learn more about how you can actually use the same. Also visit roambuddy.world where you can learn more about Mandeep and his business. And of course, Flexicom Enterprises, where I believe it was communicated to us, you can go to esim.flexicom.co.ke, where within 5 minutes using mobile money or credit card, you can actually purchase an eSIM from them. And generally, thank you so much for joining us all for this podcast on Pure Digital Passion. And hopefully, we'll catch you in the next one.